Thank you, Scott, and thank you everybody for tuning in today. Are you guys ready for your performance?
I'm ready.
All right. Woo! Brad, hold me back. In fact, Brad had to hold me back and I can't even take it right now.
All right, I'm letting you go.
Okay, fine. Brad, Jesus, we're going to be getting religious today, ladies and gentlemen. And I mean, when I say Holy Mother of God, sometimes you are so effing lucky to be where you are right now. Because, Brad, I want to cry. I want you to hand me a virtual tissue because we're going to tell stories. Perseus, we're going to go Clash of the Titans. We're going so deep, so deep today. But the truth, Brad, it's going to set us free.
All right.
You ready?
I'm ready.
It's possible we may not even show the softwares how important things are today, Brad. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for about however long it is, I've been trying to kind of explain to you guys the very simple notion of why it's so important that Trade Ideas is doing what we're doing. Brad, simply put, taking risk in life is important because it's an evolution of consciousness. Most people, ask yourself how it is that you are thinking what you're thinking. Are these your thoughts, or are these the thoughts of people that are trying to get you to think a certain way? For example, let's you and I take a look at media, and there's a lot of stuff going on about fake news. Well, if you take that meme and you distill it into some psychology, one of the reasons why it's easy to believe that such news actually could be fake, Brad, well, why? Well, because you have commercials. Can you tell me what commercials are?
Yeah, commercials are paid marketing advertisements to try to get you to buy someone's product or good.
Right. So every time we turn on our cable news networks or ABCs and NBCs, what's often lost behind the scenes is, of course, the whole thing of, well, these are still paid for programs. They want you to maintain your attention on them. And that's the primary thing, because what they want to do is they want to sell you the thing that's coming on in the commercial. That means a lot of your thoughts are being manipulated by people, again, who are really trying to sell you something. Of course, you can say, well, Dan, damn it, you're the same thing. And I cannot lie, and I'm not going to lie. To some extent, I am. But we're talking about gigantic players, and we're talking about apples and oranges a little bit. What I'm really trying to make you guys understand is this. I've been trying to say that the things that you were told in the financial news media, much like the things you're told in the regular media, is fake news. What's kind of cool is today I'm going to prove it to you in a very, very, again, deep and profound way that will blow your mind, make you understand, hopefully, how important this one single webinar could be to your life. Risk is everything. Why have we been taught, or why is it, Brad, that you are told to play it safe and put your money in a mutual fund?
Why are you told to do that?
Yes, sir. Why are you?
Well, so you can maintain the status quo, perhaps?
Definitely. But what happens when you do that, when you put your money in a mutual fund?
Well, at best, you're just keeping up with the norm, I think.
Correct. And also, do you have control over it?
Not really, no. I mean, you can decide which mutual funds you want to be in, but no, you really don't.
Now, I've said this at the other webinar too. It could have been the one that you decided to just slack off and be a caddy for your brilliantly athletic son, but we talked about a lot of things, and one of these things is that people just take as a given that giving your money to someone else is good. You've just brilliantly pointed out the obvious, that, well, you're only going to do as good as average. And by the way, everything that we're talking about here translates into everything. Education, if you're just being fed information from the same sources, the same textbooks, the same everything, well, you're going to learn something. What you will learn is the same thing that everyone else has learned. What's great, Brad, is that the people here are already on the right track. Brad was very lucky because he met me in 1998. We were just destined to meet.
Crickets.
And I take great pride in the fact that I, unbeknownst to me, I was the unwitting one. Brad, I didn't know I was the one back then, you know. I just thought I was a one, not the one. But, you know, I red-pilled you by accident and Mr. Today Trader, because when you joined the SOS revolution, what did you do? You got to experience a little bit of what the real world was. You pressed a button, that button sent a signal, that signal interacted with something, that something gave you feedback to your P&L, and then the sequence continued, correct?
You had your finger on the pulse of the world, absolutely.
Oh, you just did it! You just did it. You said it. The pulse of the world. Guys, I know. You think, like, Dan's just putting on a show. He's emotional. Brad's sitting there looking through that eye that you guys are seeing. They're shaking his head, right? Right, Brad? No, don't do that. This ain't no show.
No show, buddy.
You guys are getting some truth serum. The problem with people is that it's difficult for us to look at something like 50 years and think that it's a blink of an eye. It's difficult for Brad sometimes even, because, you know, Brad and I have different talents, but it's difficult for Brad to realize that he was red-pilled because he didn't know it when it was happening to him. Only later, in retrospect, do you see what that teaches you. And what it teaches you is this. If you are going to give up control, well, that's exactly what happens. Now, let me tell you why it's very dangerous at this point specifically to be giving up control. Does everybody see what this is?
Looks like it's a chart of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I want to make sure the viewers see it. You guys aren't getting a Bitcoin sales job, but you are getting a lesson in life. Okay, so here's the lesson, boys and girls, and maybe this will go viral, who knows. But a lot of you have probably heard or read a lot of the stuff about people called gold bugs. Do you guys know what that is? Like, people who are like, the fiat currency is bullshit, and the only thing you can do is own precious metals, because precious metals are real. Does everyone understand what that is and why people have thought that? Or am I drawing a collective, what the hell is Dan talking about? Great. Okay. So gold bugs actually have a lot of things that they're right about, which is that the fiat currency model is a manipulated currency model. What it requires is for everyone to buy into the manipulation. Again, a lot of you guys know this. Great. The problem with precious metals is what I call the excuse me, Brad, what I call the AK coefficient. Do you guys know what that is? Okay, great. You're about to learn a very important lesson. The AK coefficient is the coefficient that negates the value of precious metals when you actually need them. What it means is this. When you are wheeling around your wheelbarrow full of gold bars because you're rich to exchange them for a couple of cows and whatnot, you better pack an AK with you. That's the AK coefficient. In order to protect your precious metals, you're going to need an AK. Does everyone understand that now? So that makes the exchange of gold a little bit of a problematic thing, which is why, again, the evolution of wealth and how things happen, it happened like that for a reason. There's a reason why cash was brilliant in a way. So don't get me wrong, but here's what is important and why, again, you haven't had any trade ideas stuff yet. You will, don't worry, but you're seeing beauty and evolution happen all at once. Why is Bitcoin going in a way that it is going? Well, number one, I want to tell you guys something. This is where, because I have a gift, I'm able to see some things that a lot of people don't see, and that is that, and I pointed this out to Brad and other people, which is, don't get fooled by the fact that you're seeing a price chart of Bitcoin and the same candlesticks that are used to describe a stock. It looks similar, right? Just numbers. So it looks like Amazon, could be Amazon or anything else, right? No. Okay. So Bitcoin solves it solves all, blockchain and Bitcoin solves all the problem of gold. In other words, if you need to exchange this anonymously, et cetera, you can do so without putting yourself in danger, and it works. This is a hedge against the corruption of the fiat system, and what you're going to see is this going crazy. You're going to see it going much higher than you've ever seen. And again, I don't have to be right because, well, if I'm wrong, I would say the same thing about any investment. You have to use logic and stop loss. You cannot put in things that you can lose that will wipe you out. But I'm just saying that what you're about to see is something completely incredible. Don't be fooled by prices. Again, if somebody accidentally looks at something like 13,000 and says it's expensive, but compare that to a house in Del Mar, that's zero. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to understand. So what you're seeing here, this thing right here, Bitcoin going up, is proving to you everything that I said earlier about the fact that you need to invest your own money. Not necessarily in Bitcoin per se, although you should have some cryptocurrency, no question. But the point is that, see how it's going up? It's going up because the system is broken and it's fixing it. Now that's what's going to bring some pain, and that's where we come in. Yes, Omar, absolutely. I agree. Bitcoin has the potential to eliminate banks, exchanges, stock exchanges. What I see is, I'm just going to play it out for you. Every company will ICO because that's the way, the fair way will be to exchange value of what it's doing. And it becomes pure versus the very non-pure thing that we have right now that is still controlled by Bob and Ted in New York. Okay, so with that said, what else is a hedge like that? Okay, it's not like I'm calling for the end of the world or whatever. I want the smooth transition, the soft landing, if there can be one. I already have Bitcoins. I don't want an AK. I just want, a normal gun, but not an AK. It's complicated. But here's how you can take advantage of it. So the stock market, and I've said this before too, but again, hopefully you understand with the Bitcoins, and you guys who have been watching this, come on, man. Look at what you are seeing here. Look how fast we've evolved this tech since you have seen it. You understand? Like, who else? It's just like the price of Bitcoin. Our tech is evolving exponentially. I don't know who else is doing it like we are, but I'm sure some people will start to take advantage of these kinds of, we are leaping technologically forward, which means that we are able to isolate supply and demand inefficiencies way better than anyone else. I've said this before. We had trade ideas here in California. Just like at one point, some dorky guy in Harvard had the best idea for a social network that became Facebook. Well, some super handsome, brilliant executives in Southern California, emphasis on handsome, had this idea that you can teach a computer how to invest in stocks by teaching them what humans do, but of course outperforming them on the research part, being able to look at every stock independently but together at once, and being able to isolate and watch things that humans can't watch. This is the future. All investing will eventually become some sort of something like this, because we basically want to put ourselves into things that are working and things that are not, and win in both directions, which brings us to another point. Damn it, Brad. How good are we getting today?
So many points. What do you got?
I can't even take it. Okay. This webinar, I mean, so good for being able to answer all the incredible questions. Number one, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the web, so this works on your Macs, on your iPads. You've got AI on your iPad. Get the hell out of here. Okay, number two, people often say, but Dan, but Dan, but Dan, but Dan, but Dan. It goes forever. What are you going to do when the market goes down? What you going to do, man? Huh? What you going to do? Well, we keep on talking about the fact that we have no market bias, and we never have and we never will, because it's pointless for us too, since we have the data. Data makes you not want to have a bias. There's no point in a bias. You just do what the data says, and the data mathematically suggests what to do. Notice you can win in both directions. But as soon as the trend becomes apparent to the AI, which doesn't give a shit about feelings or account sizes from the trend's point of view, it's not clouded by something it did before. On the contrary, it processed and learned it. You see what I'm saying? Like, whereas when you and I, we have our real trading, and we try to make inferences from those trades. Some trades we do well, and some trades we do poorly. And we reward ourselves and we punish ourselves different ways for different trades. Well, our AI does it the right way because it's trained to. Whereas the way that humans process emotion is terrible. And yet, you know that finances, winning big and losing big, those are the two emotions that are right there next to birth and sex. I mean, when you're having it. That's what it feels like, Brad, right?
I don't know, but don't do that anymore.
But that's what it feels like. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, it is for sure.
It's the emotional grab, and damn it, Brad, if people don't understand it by me literally telling them exactly what happens, well, then they're liable to make a mistake. I feel like not enough people are going to the real emotional thing. They're trying to explain it all on a chart. When this support resistance line hits this, and it's bullshit.
No, you'll just keep chasing your tail if that's what you're doing. You know, that's.
But that's what I'm saying. But you can't just emotionally address that. You have to tell people like it is, which is that big losses and big gains are very emotional, and it's almost impossible for you to turn them off unless you're a yogi. But there's a mathematical way that it can be looked at, and that's the way the AI does it. And so that's the right way. Brad is my Mike Pence. Steve is so good.
It's hilarious.
Well, guys, I want to tell you something. If you want to win bigly, imagine winning like you've never imagined winning. That's what's going to happen if you actually listen to what we're saying here and pay attention to the AI, because the answer is simple. Well, yes, it's going to cost you our subscription. Big effing deal. Look at the potential that's around you. Look at what this is telling you. It's also real, and it's saying this is possible. So this went up 30% in like 2 days. So if that thing can do 30% in 2 days, and we know stocks have done it before, look at the percentages here. This is more on the Bitcoin percentage area. You know, because if you look at this, and so 13, here's 13% futures. I mean, it's not crazy numbers. And these numbers here are on the same path. So that's what you do, guys. That's the answer. Ultimately, it's just commitment. We are the technology that's going to bring you closer to outsized performance because we approached it the right way from the get-go. This proves to you that what I've been telling you today is right, meaning that giving your money to other people to invest just guarantees averages. And by the way, losses, terrible losses, that can be an average. Like, do you remember what happened to people in 2008 and 9? Terrible losses on average. So the point for me is just to communicate the most amount of information in this short time that I have and make it emotional and impactful so you remember it. You're at a changing time right now. This is Trade Ideas Pro, and we've also pushing the envelope on that as well. We've added the icons to Trade Ideas Pro. And let me also show you why, again, okay, we are the technology innovator. So here's the S&P. Here's average. And by the way, again, sometimes average can be good. Like, for example, whoops, I just bring it into perspective. So this is very good, right? Oops, let me zoom out a little bit. This is very, very good. If this percentage is good enough for you. Okay, so this is good, but there will be corrections, etc. So right now, everyone who's in the market is doing good. That is, again, a good thing. I'm not saying that you should not be invested in the market. In fact, I also want to make sure people understand that by me talking about being self-directed, that doesn't mean you have to do 100% self-directed. I also have money in 401k where I allocate stuff to aggressive growth because that's the kind of person I am, the kind of risks I want to take, and all that stuff that we said in the disclaimer, okay? But I have a very large percentage of my money that's looking for the big outsized returns in the cryptocurrencies and the biotechs, because that's how wealth is made. And then that brings me to, you know who this guy is, Brad? That brings me to this clown.
Yeah, the old AI ETF.
Mm-hmm. So let me show you guys something cute. So this is the AI ETF. I mean, this is, again, in our wheelhouse. This is our business. And let me zoom everything out the right way. So just to dial it in just a little bit. There we go. So Brad, can you see any difference between these two things?
Really highly, they correlate each other in a strong way.
All right, they're the same. So I'm throwing down some mother effing fake news for you. So this AI powered ETF is doing nothing but investing in the S&P. That's what Watson's figured out, because Watson doesn't have the right data. That's where what we have, that's the leverage that we've been riding this whole time, is that, do you know why we're able to change these pictures and do this and create this cool stuff? Because it's all server side. We can make any pictures we want. Watson has no idea what the F it's doing because it's never been in this business, and it's embarrassing for all of us. And so if this market comes back to, like, let's say below here, 25.55, or how about even 25.50, which could easily happen. This thing will go bye-bye. But this thing will go high, high, high. Do you know why? Because we know how the market works. We have a 13-year advantage, and we know how to play the downside and the upside together. Eloquent. So what I'm trying to say is that, to the tune of fake news, Watson-powered ETF is fake news, whereas Trade Ideas-powered AI is real news. And now,
yeah, so Dan, Dory was asking a question about really long-term performance of Holly. So I just thought I would share that with you.
And I thought I would share it with all of you. So one of the things that we're doing is really, we're going to let people completely dive into all of this data that you're seeing. We only haven't done it yet because, guys, we just invented the AI in 2016. Basically, it's only been up for 1 year, and it's changing lives and changing the market completely. Okay.
So Dan, real quick, just so that you know, and so the Dory knows, this happens to be a chart of the risk-off data. So when Holly's being conservative and getting out of these trades early, this happens to be the chart. If you look at the risk-on data, it's even, the disparity is even greater. So
it's like more exponential.
Exactly.
So those are your choices. You know, you have some choices in life. You're here to hopefully get woke. For those of you guys that are using our technology and already subscribers, let me show you what we've done recently. So again, in both, you've noticed that on the web, we've added the icons, and what you don't need to worry about is that Brad and I, the workhorses, handsome workhorses of trade ideas, are working behind the scenes, improving all the algorithms. How are we doing that? Well, we're analyzing Holly data, feeding her own data, having her look at it, utilizing things that, again, R&D, skunk works kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing behind the scenes. As a result, the P&L is a little bit better in my version here because I'm using the slightly improved algorithm. So again, lots of good stuff happening. You're going to be able to manage the positions from here better. Okay, so what you're going to be able to see is when you get a stock and when you have some situation happen, it's going to turn red when this stock is below its stop price. Okay, so that you can see which things are going in your direction and which ones are not. So here are all the stocks in light blue that are above their AI stock price, and then of course you had this guy, the loser. So we are continuing to make information more easily seen. Notice this is for shorts, so that's where we're going. Have an arrow pointing down. Brad, one of the things that I really want to talk about is how we've often said that we're working towards creating a simple navigational perspective in the market. So when you look at a stock like TROX, versus, let me see if I have something less, although this kind of is another example. Trying to find some, okay, this is a good one. So New Link Genetics. So Brad, we went short New Link Genetics here, but up until then, we didn't know, there was no real data, right? You didn't know what Holly did for it. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
So you can kind of go and, well, I like the AI, I understand what it's doing, it meets some of my other criteria, and decide to take it or not take it. On TROX, though, you see a different picture. Well, Holly bought it here, probably would have been stopped out, but on the swing perspective, and Brad, did you already send me this file, or walk me, because remember, I kind of came in towards late. You were saying a present for me. Is that present the cloud link that I have here?
That present is the cloud link, yeah, right there, and we can share it with people too. Okay,
let me do that real quick. So Brad gave me something, but what I'm trying to do is, so I'm trying to show you guys, so look at these buy signals. Obviously, from a swing point of view, this buy signal still should have been decent, or you should have re-entered. This one, much better, but you can clearly tell if you simply look back, Brad, is this call, looks like Holly's kind of figured out what's going on? I would say yes. This call, yes, and look at here she goes short. And I'm going to say, okay, well, I mean, if I'm not in it, right? I'm not in it, but damn, nailed it. It's not always supposed to be easy. So that's one of the things that would have given me more confidence, for example, to get into this trade today. Because again, when you look at it from the point of view of good, 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 why not? Do you see what I'm saying? It's just that additional information. Here's how the expert played it. Titan, Holly, long here, works, okay, then not. But if you're thinking long term, then damn it, holy moly, did that work out. And that's kind of how you have to also approach it. It makes you understand the data better, that sometimes the moves, right, the big moves aren't always evident right away. And of course, everyone's trying to get that, but let's be adults and understand the future can be foretold that way. Once we all understand that, then we all breathe easy. So Ari Brad has a good question. What's the trader workflow like? Okay, let's start that out. So today, you had basically 2 trades coming in, excuse me, dang it, at the same time. 7:01, this is West Coast time, so it's 30 minutes after the open. So for the first 30 minutes, nothing happened, okay? And then at 7:01, one signal on this symbol GDDY, which was right here. Notice on the trade ideas chart, you can see everything perfectly. You can see the whole thing, how it happened. So here was the signal, and it actually didn't do that great. It was down like 20 cents, then it started to rebound, came almost all the way back, then again pulled back, but then the big move happened towards the very end where it actually did really well and then pulled right back to the entry. So we're kind of right here, but if you look at bullish trend change as a channel and start understanding what Holly's trying to do, she's trying to catch these reversals for you. She's trying to do the hard stuff that you would never be able to. Like what would have happened if you would have caught this one, right, Brad? See this? This is the kind of entry that Holly looks at, that she has in the background, that she knows is a good entry, and she's trying to see, is this behavior look like this behavior? Does it fit the kind of characteristics that I would look at? And in her mind, the answer was yes. Next trade was CMS. And again, it's one of those ones that you don't have any additional information. Holly doesn't often trade the same stocks. Again, this is the beauty. Holly is her own thing. We do not control which stocks she is going to pick. Brad, I love saying that. It's such a beautiful truthism.
I know. I love hearing it. It's true.
It's true. That's why no matter how much money Facebook or IBM or Microsoft and Google and the whole deep state, if they tried to recreate this thing, it would not be possible. Even we couldn't do it. So this is your workflow. So you have 2 trades today right at the same time, and they were right around the same way. The first thing we say is if you can afford to do everything, do it, because well then you're going to be as close to the AI as possible. Okay. Next trade happened in 38 minutes. It was a short of Titan. Okay, so once again, remember, I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at this cluster of buys over here, and I'm seeing like what that would have worked out, and I'm saying, well, obviously there was some predictive value because look at what happened overall. So if she's calling this a top, I'll take a chance. That's your next. So on the third trade, you got one of your second to biggest winners. Okay. Next one, you had a bullish trend change in Beezer Home. So this is again, nailed the buy, nailed the sell, and now it's a buy. It didn't work out. But if anything, this would make me put up my, number one, I'm going to heart this, which I'm going to, well, my custom version. Sorry, I can't do that. So the other thing we talk about is the triple threat of simply, without any indicators, realizing, oh, I see what Holly's trying to do. Pull up a little price alert and say, Holly was right. Now you've got a pin. You're ready to go when the move continues. Moving right along. And then your biggest winner was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. So people often tell me, Dan, how do I get started? What do I do? The blah-blah-blah-bahs, they come left and right. But I always say simplicity, Occam's razor, KISS principle. Brad, the early bird gets the worm. Can that be a motto?
I mean, I think that's a truism, right? That's yeah. For sure.
To get the exact Holly, you have to take them all. To try to hunt for the best ones, you have to have some access earlier. The early bird gets the worm. That's it. You're going to find the best trades from our platform overall. And from the AI as well. So it's a combination. I mean, I didn't even go into the fact that you can surf and it surfs for you. And the fact that, you know, if you're just sitting here and you're doing nothing, the software will educate you for you. It's that smart. Who else is going to do that? Who else is going to let you do reps? If you guys want to research something, look at myelin. Tiger Woods talks about myelin a lot, Brad. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
Do you know what it is?
Performance enhancing drug? I have no idea.
Oh, you're so cute. Guys, Brad, he's so down to earth, damn it. Myelin, Brad, is the stuff that your brain makes as it builds muscle memory through repetition.
Of course.
Whether you're doing reps of calculus or reps of short game. And what you're doing here, ladies and gentlemen, what Brad and I are showing you is reps of chart patterns. But the beauty is, it's like the fat burning machine that works. Meaning that you don't have to do anything. I'm not pressing my keys. I'm sitting there just watching at beautiful pictures. And by the way, Brad, I do this. I make a big monitor sometimes, and all I have is the charts. It's a meditation, because that way you don't have to form opinions. You only have like 10 seconds and it goes away. I mean, so much is built in, Brad. The force. Focus not on things you cannot do, Brad. So there you have it, guys. This is what you need to know. I cannot emphasize enough the fact that simply by being here, you're in the right place, and there's nothing else like this in the world. You guys know this. You guys know this, and what you know also, since we've been talking, this thing went from 13,000 to 13,500. Not saying they like get some and whatever, although again, I believe you should have it. And I believe it will go much, much higher. So listen to what I'm saying here. Recording, you see how well it ages. That Dan, man, that idiot, he said Bitcoin at 13,500. What a moron that guy is. Please.
And you're calling it as it's continuing to, well, break out, right?
Well, I'm showing you that this is the proof that the fake financial news is fake financial news. Okay? This is the proof you need to sign up for trade ideas and open your eyes to what's really happening in the world. We are a great way to feel the world. And what you realize if you're on trade ideas is that you realize the world is not as mad as the news media makes you realize it is. Because there's so much positivity. There's so many things moving. When we look at things like alpha predator, like for example, what you see is a lot of stocks that are still up an immense amount. So many big opportunities. See this? This is stock market stuff. 40 million shares, 95%. Guys, it's bigger than Bitcoin. ROI. That's what it's about. It's about understanding that this is here. And that you must know it. Or you will be left behind by those that do know it. That's the danger you face. And with that, I return to you the presentation. One of the ways that we help people get woke, red pill, understand what's happening in the market and all these incredible things is by creating a free community, which is not sales oriented, but rather meritocracy focused on best practices for risk management and speculation in the stock market for self-directed investors. It's led by Barry Anderson, a fantastic moderator who's really built the business by himself and has done it through example. Everyone here should be in this free trading room. We have a Trade Ideas podcast. We talk a lot about the trends that are happening. A lot of the stuff that you've heard about Bitcoin, if you listen to some of our other podcasts, we've talked about it before. And the thing that really separates us from everyone else is that it's kind of, this sort of relates to Bitcoin a little bit. You know, people look at Bitcoin and they say 13,000, that's an expensive stock. But if you say 13,000, that's a cheap ass house. Paying $1,888 for artificial intelligence that can give you the kind of education and insight that makes a law degree look like a square wheel is really zero. And that's what we're about. That's why it's game changing. If this is a large amount of money for you, understand that you are already at a severe disadvantage. And I'm just being honest. Okay, because the hardest thing to do is overcome the financial deficit. That's the barrier to entry in the stock market and the barrier to life. It's that most people who really want it don't have the capital to actually access it. If you do have the capital, breathe deep and get it now, because this is as good as it gets. And of course, 15% premium today for your attention and listening to the poetry that is the Q&A webinar. Holly Bells, all caps. Just a little clarification in terms of what things are and value. And of course, we are humans. We are not robots, and we are not marketing agents. We are not a focus group that sits around there looking at traders at the World Expo and tries to figure out which indicator to put on your platform. I just puked. What we are is real people with passion to make a different kind of technology that exposes you to the opportunity to have wealth in this darn competitive and tricky world we live in. We're easy to get a hold of. That's one of the things that makes us different. And that's because we're not too busy going to meetings and meeting with boards of directors. No, we're here. We're constantly doing R&D. Brad and I are a lot of the architects of what you see. Barry and his feedback, the rest of the Trade Ideas team. It is a whole living human apparatus designed to help bring this technology and elevate it, constantly elevating the game. And that's why you see the results you see. No, we're not letting Barry go. Barry doesn't want to go anywhere. We're winning. We are taking over, guys. Okay. So with that, I want to thank you for taking your time. Brad, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I'm continuing to answer a few questions here, but
did you give by any chance everybody the link that you showed? Oh, I didn't even use it. Hold on.
Why don't you show it and then?
Surprise! I didn't even do anything. Hold on a second here, people. All right, my cloud load. What is that? What's the sneaky option buying? Did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
Is it the right thing or the wrong thing?
That's the right thing. So that's an AI optimized strategy right there. Go ahead and run the odds maker. I think that's really kind of the takeaway. This is a swing strategy, and the great thing about this swing strategy, it really works great over a variety of time frames, and that's what you're really looking for. You want to be positive at the end of the day. You don't want to be in a hole holding a position. So ideally, you want to be positive, and this right here is hypothesizing that you're holding for, I think it's 3 days in total.
And by the way, Brad, real quick, for those that don't know, who haven't been here enough, this is the foundation of the AI. All of this magic that you see here that Brad just showed, I mean, every strategy, every trade on the AI happens because everything looks like this, okay? So just so you know, this is the building block. Go ahead, Brad, sorry.
Yeah, no, so it's just a strategy here that's looking at options, making sure options are at an accelerated rate, and the stock happens to be crossing an algorithmic resistance level. It has some really great results, so I think we can share that. The interesting thing is, and I don't think we have time in this particular webinar, but it's good to point out that do this. Go back to the odds maker run. Don't run it yet, but do the back. Right click. No, do me a run again. I want to look at the first screen here. So go to the risk management tab up at the top here. So what's interesting about this strategy is that I created a custom filter called Swing Stop. And the custom filter is really taking a look at how much that stock has changed over the last 5 days. If it's been up or down, it doesn't matter because it's looking at an absolute value of that. And then I'm also incorporating a maximum stop value and also a minimum stop value. So using that algorithm right there for a multi-day hold, works out pretty well. And then if I turn this into an intraday hold, then I just turn it into our smart stop, which again is another algorithm that looks at the volatility of the stock, the range of the day, and what its relative volume is.
Well, one of the other things that Brad's kind of hinting at, and we talked about it probably when I was screaming again, like I always do at these presentations because I get so amped, is that just like DDR, so you see the stock DDR, and at the end of the day, there's the signal here, right? But what Brad and I are going to give you guys is the ability to be able to zoom out a little bit, or just like, maybe this is a better example because it's, of course, it's on lows. But how about this? Zoom out of it and see what would be the proper swing stop. So not an intraday stop, but if you had more risk ability, like if you had more capital, what would be a proper holding time? So to give every trade that Holly has done a potential for long-term swing ability, since it was already designed to the get-go. Holly was never designed as a day trading tool. It's just how we display the data right now for consistency and indexing. But it is really designed to be something you use for gaining the most out of the market. And gaining the most out of the market is, as Brad said, is being into trades that run. And of course, we had a beautiful example of that. AB, whatever it was. I forgot the symbol.
Let me get that link, and I'll go ahead and I'll share it here in the chat.
This guy. So this is, again, like, look, you got stocks that have beaten Bitcoin in terms of going up, and Bitcoin's going to still, just hasn't even started yet, but that's what we're trying to show you guys. This is what you need to be seeing. It's that simple. If you don't have it, sign up, go to our website. Obviously, use Holly Bells for your discount. But again, don't worry about the discount. Worry about the truth. Okay? Worry about what you hear on CNBC as they're playing those commercials to control your mind. That's what we all need to be paying attention to more. What are we really doing? All right, my friends, thank you.
So David, let me real quick before you go. David's asking, is this the same strategy, the sneaky options that Von Para designed? So he actually did the base for it. This is a further refinement of that particular strategy, very much how the AI works. We feed it a base, and then it goes in, it looks at that base, and it really looks at how it wants to refine it. And that's what this strategy is right here. And the only difference is that Holly would do this every single day on this strategy. This is going to be this way, and chances are over a period of time it will degrade.
Let me show you guys again, just for demonstrating purposes, why it is that you really can differentiate our technology from everything else. And I want to break it down into things that people understand. So let's search for a 200-day moving average. Okay, and here we have an alert that says crossed above the 200-day moving average. And I have some filters in here, but I'm going to get rid of all of them for the most part. None of this advanced stuff, and I'm going to just add the defaults just so I can see them. And all I'm going to say is that today's volume is, of course, 300,000, and the minimum, so that I avoid all penny stocks, the minimum price is $1, and the maximum price, just for keeping it in a similar universe, is $100. And I'm going to call this window the 200-day cross. Imagine all of you guys, okay, coming to a situation where, you know what, you found this idea that, you know, why don't I create a system where instead of me just buying every 200-day moving average that comes across, I see if they work. Are these good buy signals? So we asked ourselves that same question, okay? So when you back test this, you say, okay, well, when might I be at the market? Okay, so from my point of view, market starts at 6:30 at Pacific time, but I don't want to wake up my kids, so I'm up at 7 a.m. I'm just playing, you know, human games. I am at work, so I don't put on any trades after, let's say, 11. Because I'm a surgeon. So what I'm trying to do, so people say, okay, well, how do you know if it's 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever? But this is where people sometimes, Brad, get stuck in the details. We're just trying to get an idea of which way the wind is blowing. So I'm assuming here, I'm going to say, okay, I'm just going to get out at the close. So that's an assumption. How would I do if I got out at the close? So the reason I'm doing this at the end is I don't want to bore you guys too much with this kind of crap because we already do it all for you, but just understand where it all comes from. So what we're going to find out now is we know where we're getting in and we know when we're getting out. Entry, 7 a.m., no more trades after 11, and I'm getting out at 1. And I'm buying. It's Brad, it's like I'm giving up the magic formula to them for a second.
That's okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what do you see here is something that Brad and I have discovered through the use of statistical analysis that most people just either don't want to believe or don't know. If you invest in the stock market and are guessing, for the most part, every guess, the stock market is damn efficient. Every human guess is right around here. 49.3, 47 point. Brad, how long have we been doing this? How long have we been testing data?
That's actually pretty good right there.
Well, I'm just saying, Brad, I'm not, whereas I would completely lie to you to get your money, Brad would never do that. And so Brad backs me up. He's like, no, Dan, you cannot tell. This is the truth. So when you guess, this is your chance. This is when you're going off Twitter, going off of anything, this is right around your chance. And what happens is when a rising tide lifts all boats, you have winners that are better than losers, and you have a slightly better profit factor, which is your winners divided by your losers. People have asked, do you factor in commission? Yes, we do. Do you factor in slippage? Yes, we do. That's why with commission and slippage, this is not a good strategy. I just answered your question. Run again. Well, maybe I should sell it. People often, say something like this. And we let you play those hypotheticals. Some very powerful hypotheticals, Brad.
Yeah, and we let you do it quickly, right? That's the important thing.
Well, think about what we just did. We just did 1,600 simulated trades in a course of a few seconds. And so all this stuff is information that Brad and I have been processing for a decade, feeding it into our computer, creating optimization scheme and schematics. And as a result, you get stuff that looks like this and this. That's the story. Morning glory. This is as good as it gets, and you're at the right place. It's just a question of what do you do with this information. I've given it all to you, the truth, the price, and of course, the fact that it's relatively cheap and we're easy to get a hold of. There's nothing holding you back but your own fear, and we hope that this webinar helped you to overcome it. Brad, Scott, are we done?
Yeah, I think so. Nice presentation, Dan.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.